Sometimes I come up with an idea, and then when I sit down to write it, it turns into something completely different. So it's 2013. It's July, middle of summer. I am riding in my car, and on the radio comes the Smokie Norful song, I Understand. And of course, after, I love music. Music a lot of times will uh, bring me to an emotional response. After I get myself together in the car, of course, the first thing I think is, this should be in a show. And so I begin to think of neat ways that I could portray this song. I Understand. I'd actually heard it way before that 2013 car ride, but for whatever reason, it hit me different that particular time. And so I go home and I'm thinking that it would be neat if I could have this song, I Understand, where some Bible character was talking to God and they're at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. And, God is just telling them, you know what, everything's going to be okay. Just take that one more step. And at first, I thought I should put it in like a segmented show where I have different Bible characters that are having conversations with God and this, that, and the other. And because it's the middle of summer, I don't really have my brain on much of anything else. And then suddenly, in my head pops Joseph, Jesus's dad, on earth. And I thought, well, that'd be neat if he was having this conversation with God about, I'm at my wit's end, and God is just like, nope, just trust me, take this one more step, after he finds out that Mary's pregnant. And I thought, well, that would be interesting to have this kind of exchange between Joseph and this angel or this God or something. And I could see it kind of staged in my head exactly about what to do. And so I started writing out this scene between Joseph and God having this conversation through song. And as I kept writing, I realized that essentially I was writing a Christmas play. And so after I fleshed that scene out, I was just like, well, now we have to get to that scene. And I began to write out solely from that song, thinking that this was going to be like the main, thing of the play. Whenever you write a play, especially when you're writing like a musical, there's always like a main song. And so I approached this random nameless Christmas show as if this was going to be the main song of the show. Joseph, God singing to each other, and, I Understand by Smokie Norful. I Understand just doesn't resonate as a title. And to solely focus on Joseph just didn't quite work. And so when I began to input Mary into the story in the writing and the rough draft, I began to realize that she was so much of, obviously, a part of the story as Joseph. And instead of writing her as like the side character and kind of telling the story from Joseph's perspective, I started to tell the story from the couple's perspective of expecting this child. And so then suddenly, I have Mary that is an integral part of the story, and I have Joseph coming together. I'm just like, wouldn't it be neat if it was a love story? This is what happens when you have ADHD and you're writing a play. And that is how More Than Wonderful got written. But I still had this amazing idea of Joseph having to sing this song after he finds out that Mary is pregnant, and the emotional crisis that he's having. This, does he divorce her? Does he put her away quietly, and he's kind of praying or whatever. And so I decided that if I'm going to put this duet in this show, I'm going to have to find two dynamic singers to be able to pull it off. Luckily, my brother, Brian Bates, which I guess I've made it my goal for him to sing every Smokie Norful song ever written, I had decided to cast him as Joseph. And in doing so, I pitched him the idea solely based on the song. Like, not even like I'm writing this Christmas show about this love story between Mary and Joseph. I didn't even do that. I was just like, I have this song. Joseph is singing I Understand. I explained it to him over the phone. He's like, this is amazing. Yes, I'll do it. But now I got to find an angel or a God figure that is going to sing this song. Whenever you have a person that you need, male especially, that you need like this powerhouse, gonna pound for pound singing flatfoot, you call Jeremy Kelsey. Jeremy Kelsey and I had gone to Fisk University together. We were in Jubilee Singers together. He happened to be living in Huntsville, which was, amazing for me. And I called him. pitched him the same idea. He thought it was great. Cast Mary as Makita Hampton, and songs for her start coming to me. We took the gospel version of Daryl Coley's song, God and God Alone, and we let her sing in this beautiful classical soprano backed up by this gospel choir. It was absolutely, amazing in my head. And I'm like, this is going to work. And so I start stacking all these different songs. And of course, Makita and Brian are going to sing More Than Wonderful, which is how the show got named. We get to the Thursday night before the show. For whatever reason, I have like these weird 48-hour crisis before every show. Brian and Jeremy, they sing the song, blow the rehearsal away. We're really excited. And because I had stopped making that specific song the focal point of the show, there was one minor thing that kind of turned into a major thing that I forgot. We get to the end of rehearsal and they were just like, who's doing the background vocals for this song? And I realized there is a whole background vocal track that had not even been taught. Of course, I approach my godbrother, Eric, at the Thursday night rehearsal. And I'm just like, Eric, I messed up. I need you to find people that can sing backup to this song. I'm not sure what magic trick he pulled, but thankfully by that Saturday morning, which is when we were going to do the show at First Seventh-day Adventist Church, he had this amazing praise team that when it was time for them to do background vocals, they stepped up to the mic and they were able to sing. Here's where I kind of got a little worried. The beginning of the show, we start off with the narrator coming out and explaining that we're about to tell this story like you've never heard it before. And he comes out and greets the audience. And then, of course, Makita comes out and the narrator describes this amazing woman that loved God and this, that, and the other. And Makita opens her mouth and starts singing God and God Alone. And it is breathtaking. Like I've never heard it like this before. Then the choir kicks in and, they start singing and the song builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And they get to the end. She ends on like this, I don't even think the key is on the piano. And the song gets a standing ovation. At the beginning of the show, I'm in the back of the church and my stomach sinks. And I think to myself, we can only go down from here. This whole Christmas show that was literally built off of a song that's not even the focal point of the show anymore is going to be kind of overshadowed by this amazing rendition that, she sang the brakes off this song. We get to that iconic moment and it played out exactly the way I saw it in my head, which as a director and as a writer, I can't even tell you that when you're actually watching something and it looks like the way it did in your brain, it's goosebumps and it's so fantastic. I was no longer worried that the play was gonna, go into this downward spiral. It turned out absolutely amazing. I always found it funny that the plans that I had for that show to be built off of this one song were obviously not supposed to be the plans that I was supposed to have. Here is I Understand featuring Brian Bates and Jeremy Kelsey from the show More Than Wonderful.
God is able. God is able. God is able and He won't fail. God is able. God is able. God is able. He won't fail. Tell me who can make a mountain move out of my way, and who can make a miracle because of my faith. And when people say no, who can still say yes? And when I'm in trouble, who's that same God who will pass every My God is able. I believe God is able, and He won't fail. But sometimes I feel like giving up, and it seems like my best just ain't good enough. So Lord, if you hear me, I'm calling you. Do you see, do you care all about what I'm going through? One more day, one more step. I'm preparing you for myself. And if you can't hear my voice, please trust my plan. I'm the Lord I see, and yes, I understand. Okay. But sometimes I feel like I'm all alone. Just like a stranger, so far from home. I feel like I've done all that I can do. Please, Lord, give me strength. I'm just trying to make it through. Please tell me, yeah. One more day, one more step. I'm preparing you for myself. And if you can't hear my voice, please trust my plan. I'm the Lord I see, and yes, I understand. He knows just how much we can. Trouble, you promised you would always be there. Yeah. Ooh, I understand. Oh, I'm the Lord I see, and yes, I understand. I am the Lord, and I changeth not. I won't forget, nor have I forgot. Everything works according to my plan. Please trust me, I hold the whole world in my hand.
And of course, that is Gather for Notes. See you next time.